In this video, we'll solve a couple of rational equations. A rational equation looks like the example that I just wrote, x over 3 plus 2 over x equals 5. So it's an equation that contains variables at the denominators. So how do we solve an equation like this? Well, let's start by deciding what values x cannot have. So where do we have concerns? So if we think about it, we have this x. So we have this x at the denominator. So x cannot be 0, right? Or in other words, take the denominator and set it equal to 0, and whatever values you get, those are not going to be valid solutions because the denominator is going to be 0 and it's undefined. So x cannot be 0. Let's find LCD now. The LCD of the denominators, if I put 5 over 1, the denominators are 3, x and 1. So the LCD is the product of all these factors. So it's 3x. Now, let's multiply the equation by 3x, each side of the equation by 3x. So we're going to have an equation that looks like this. Every single term is multiplied by 3x, so I'm going to put over 1 just so that it looks like a fraction. So now let's multiply x over 3 times 3x. Well, 3 and 3 cancel and we get 1. So x times x, it's x squared. No denominator. So x squared. Plus x divided by x, it's 1. So 2 times 3, 6. Equals 5 times 3x, 15x. So we ended up with a quadratic equation. And I'm going to subtract 15x from both sides. Write the terms in order, so x squared minus 15x plus 6 equals 0. And we're going to solve this equation with one of the three methods. So we can solve it, we can try solving it using factoring. But if we think about two numbers that have the sum negative 15 and product 6, well, product 6 it's 1, 6 and 2, 3. So even if we add a minus somewhere, they cannot add up to negative 15. So we are going to use quadratic formula. So x1, 2 is negative b, that is negative 15, plus minus square root of b squared, that's negative 15 squared, minus 4 times a times c, everything over 2 times a. So then we get negative 15, it's 15, plus minus square root of negative 15 squared is 225, minus 24, over 2. So it's 15 plus minus square root of 201 over 2. Or in other words, 15 plus square root of 201 over 2. And let's see if we can separate, if we can simplify even more. Minus square root of 201 over 2. Well, 201 can be divided by 3. And we get 67, and 67 cannot be divided anymore. So these are the two solutions that we got. Now, if we compare with the value that x cannot be 0, then these two solutions that we have are the actual solutions of the equation. So this is restricted value. And we find it always by set denominator equal to 0. Okay, let's solve example 5 from the list. So we have 2x over x minus 3 plus 6 over x plus 3 equals negative 2 over x squared minus 9. So first step, step 1, factor all denominators. So we have 2x over x minus 3, that's already factored, plus 6 over x plus 3, that's already factored. Negative 2 over, well, x squared minus 9 can be factored into x plus 3, x minus 3. Next step, step 2, find the values for which denominators equal 0. So I'm going to take each denominator. So I have one denominator, two denominators, three denominators. So we have x minus 3 equals 0. That means x equals 3. X plus 3 equals 0. That means x equals negative 3. And this last one, it's actually the same that we had before. So what does that mean? It means for these values, the denominators are equal to 0, which makes them undefined. So that means x cannot be 3 or x cannot be negative 3. So when we check our solutions, we have to make sure, when we get our solutions, we have to make sure that they are not any of these values. So let's do step 3. Step 3 is find LCD. Find LCD of x minus 3, x plus 3, and x minus 3 times x plus 3. Well, LCD is exactly the product, x minus 3, x plus 3. What do we do with this? Step 4, multiply each fraction by LCD. So then our fractions are going to be 2x over x minus 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3 over 1. The one I write in red is our LCD that we are multiplying every fraction with. 6 over x plus 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3 over 1 equals, the last term is negative 2 over x plus 3, x minus 3, and we are going to multiply by x plus 3, x minus 3 over 1. And now let's start simplifying. So x minus 3 cancels with x minus 3, so we end up with 2x times x plus 3 plus x plus 3 cancels with x plus 3 and we get 1. So plus 6 times x minus 3 equals negative 2 times, well, x plus 3 cancels with x plus 3, we get 1. X minus 3 with x minus 3, we get 1. So it's just negative. So step 5, solve the equation. Obtained in step 4. So we have 2x times x, 2x squared, plus 2x times 3, 6x, plus 6 times x, 6x, plus 6 times negative 3 minus 18 equals negative 2. So let's solve it. Add like terms, move this number on the left, so 2x squared plus 12x minus 16 equals 0. So I also noticed that all these can be divided by 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. And we get x squared plus 6x minus 8 equals 0. If we couldn't divide by 2, that's okay. We would have tried to even factor or quadratic formula or... So let's try to factor. We are looking for two numbers that have the sum 6 and product negative 8. So how about, what can we have here? So 1, 8, 2, 4. But if I want to, so there are no numbers, right? If I put the negative 2, 4 or 2, negative 4, they don't add up to 6. So what does that mean? It means I have to use quadratic formula. So a equals 1, b equals 6, c equals negative 8. So x1 comma 2 is negative b, negative 6 plus minus square root of b squared, so 6 squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 8, everything over 2a. So we get negative 6 plus minus square root of 36 plus 32 over 2, so it's negative 6 plus minus square root of 68 over 2, which is negative 6 plus minus was 68 divided by 2 is 34, divided by 2 it's 17. So that can be simplified in 2 square root of 17 over 2. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3, plus minus 2 square root of 17 divided by 2 is square root of 17. So negative 3 plus minus square root of 17 is the solution of the equation. And if we look at the restriction that we set our for our denominators are 3 and negative 3, they are different than our solutions. So that means the final answer of the equation is negative 3 plus minus square root of 17. If we actually got here 3 or negative 3, we would have no solution for our equation because those two numbers produce 0 at the denominator, while this one doesn't.